The following is a recording of the general prologue to Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, based largely on the text from the Ellesmere manuscript. Wandered opera with his sure sorta, the drocht of March hath persed to the rota, and bothered every vine in switch liqueur, of which virtue engendered is the floor. When Zephyrus eke with his sweet breath inspired hath in every halt, and hath the tender croppus, and the younge sun hath in the ram his halve corsi runne, and smalle fooles mocken melodie, that slepen all the nicht with openie, so pricketh him nature and here courageous. Van longen folk to gon on pilgrimages, and palmerus for to seken strange strandes, to ferne halwas, couth in sundry landes, and specially from every sheeres end of England to Canterbury they wend, the holy blissful martyr for to seke, that him hath holpen when that they were seke. Before in that season on a day in Southwark at the tabard as he lie, ready to wenden on me pilgrimage to Canterbury with full devout courage, at nicht was come into that hosteria, well 29 in a compagnie of sundry folk, be aventuri folla in fellowship, and pilgrims were they alla, that toward Canterbury wolden rede. The chambers and the stables were in weede, and well we were in Ezed at a best. And shortly, when the sun was to rest, so had he spoken with him every John, that he was of her fellowship anon, and mada forward early for Teresa, to talk o'er why, there as a you devisa. But natheless will he have team and spassa, ere that he feather in this tala passa. May thinketh it accordant to resoon to tell you all the condition of each of him, so as it seemed may, and which they weren and of what degree, and eke in what array that they were in, and at a knicht then will he first begin. A knicht there was, and that a worthy man, that fra the time that he first began to readen out, he loved chivalry, truth and honour, freedom and courtesy. Full worthy was he in his lord's were, and thereto had he ridden, no man fairer, as well in Christendom as in heavenesse, and ever honoured for his worthiness. At Alexandre was, when it was wonne, full oft the team he had the board begun, above in all nations in Prusa. In Letu had he rised, and in Rusa, no Christen man saw oft of his degree. In Gernad at the sage eke had he bear Algezir, and ridden in Belmaria. At Lies was he, and at Satalia, when they were won, and in the Greta say, at many a noble army had he be. At mortal battailes had he been 15, and fochten for fight at Tramasena in listes threes, and I slain his fall. This ilke worthy knicht had been also some time with the Lord of Palatia, again another heaven in Turkey, and evermore he had a sovereign priest, and though that he were worthy, he was wise, and of his port as make as is a maid. He never yet no villainy aside in all his life unto no manner wished. He was a very perfect, gentle knicht. But for to tell you of his array, his horse were good, but he was not gay. A fustian he weared a Japon, all besmuttered with his habergeon, for he was Lottie come from his viaja, and went forth on his pilgrimage. With him there was his son, a young squire, a lover, and a lusty bachelor, with lockes crawl as they were lied in presse. Of 20 year of age he was, he guesse. Of his stature he was of evene length, and wonderly deliver, and of great strength. And he had been some team in Chivachia, in Flanders, in Artois, and Picardia, and borne him well, as of so little spasse, in hop to standen in his loddy grasse. Embrooded was he, as it were a meadow, all full of freshe floures, wheat and red. Singing he was, or floiting all the day. He was as fresh as is the month of May. Short was his goon, with sleeves long and weede. Well could he sit on horse and fire ride. He could a song as mock and well indeed, juiced and eke dance, and well portray and rite. So hot he loved that be nichtertalle, he slept no more than doth a nichtingalle. Courteous he was, lowly and serviceable, and carved before his father at the table. A yeoman had he, and servants no more at that team, for him liste rede saw, and he was clad in cot and hoed of graine. A shape of peacock arwas, bricht and cane, under his belt he bar full thriftily. Well could he dress his tockle yeomanly. His arwas drooped nocht with feathers low, and in his hand he bar a michty bow. A knot head had he, with a brune visage. Of woodcraft well could he all do sage. Upon his arm he bar a gay brassere, and be his seed a sword and a buckler. And on that other seed a gay dagger, harnessed well and sharp as point of spear. A Christopher on his breast of silver sheen, and horn he bar. The baldric was of grain. A forster was he, sothly, as he guesse. There was also a nun, a prioresse, that of her smiling was full simple and coy. Her greatest off was but be Saint Eloi, and she was cleped Madame Eglantine. Full well she sung the service divine, and tuned in her nose full seemly, and French she spake full fire and faitously after the skull of Stratford at a bow, for French of Paris was to hear and know. At Mette willy talked was she withal. She let no morsel from her lippes falle, no wet her fingers in her sauce babe. Well could she carry a morsel, and well keep her, that no drop ne fill upon her breast. In courtesy was set full mucho her lest. Her overlip weeped she so clean, that in her cup there was no farthing sane of grace, when she drunken had her draught. Full samely after her met she raucht. And sickerly she was of great disport, and full pleasant, and amiable of port, and pined here to counterfeit a chair of court, and to been a statlige of manner, and to been holden dean of reverence. But for to specken of her conscience, she was so charitable and so piteous, she would weep if that she saw a moose cocked in a trap, if it were dead or bled. A smalle hoendes hadde she that she fed, with roasted flesh, or milk and wastel bread. But sore wept she if ane of him were dead, or if men smote it with a yerde smerte. And all was conscience and tendre herte. Full samely her wimple pinched was, her nose a tratus, her eyen grey as glass, her mouth full small, and thereto soft and red. But sickerly, she had a fair forehead, it was almost a span abroad, I trow, for hardily she was not undergrow. Full fetus was her cloak, as I was war. Of small coral, about her arm she bar a pair of bedes, gauded all with grain, and thereon hing a brooch of gold full sheen, on which there was first written a crooned awe, and after amor vincit omnia. Another nun with her had she, that was her chapelaine, and priestess three. A monk there was, a fire for the maestria, an outreader that loved veneria, a manly man, to been an abbot oble. Full many a dainty horse had he in stable, and when he rode, men micht his bridle hair a jingling in a whistling wind elsclare, and eke as loud as doth the chapel bell, thereas this lord was keeper of the cella. The rule of Saint Maur, or of Saint Benite, because that it was old, and some del straight, this ilke monk let all the thinges passe, and held after the newe world the spasse. He yaft not of that text a pulled hen that saith that hunters be not holy men, nor that a monk when he is wretcheless is likened till a fish that is waterless. This is to say, a monk out of his cloistre. But thilke text held he not worth an oyster, and he sighed his opinion was God. What, should he study and mock himself and wad upon a book in cloister alway to poor, or swinken with his handes and labour as Austin did? Who shall the world be served? Let Austin have his swing to him reserved. Therefore he was a prickesur a richt, grey hundes he had as swift as fool in vliegt, of pricking and of hunting for the hare was all his lust. For no cost would he spare. I say his slaves perfiled at the hond with grease, and that the finest of a land. And for to fasten his hoard under his chin, he had of gold rocked a full curious pin, a love knot in the greater end there was. His head was bald, that shone as any glass, and eke his face as he had been anoint. He was a lord full fat and in good point, his eyen stape and rolling in his head, that stemmed as a furnace of a lead. His boat souple, his horse in great state. Nu certainly, he was a fair prelate. He was not Paul as a four-peened ghost. A fat swan loved he best of any roast. His palfrey was as brune as is a berry. A frere there was, a wanton and a maria, a limitour, a full solemne man. In all the orders four is none that can so much of dalliance and fire langage. He had a mod full many a marriage of younge woman at his own cost. Unto his order he was a noble post. Full well beloved and familiar was he with Frankelanes over all in his country, and with worthy women of the tune. For he had poor of confession as side himself, more than a curate, for of his order he was licentiate. Full sweetly heard he confession, and pleasant was his absolution. He was an easy man to give penance, whereas he wished to have a good pittance. For unto a poor order for to give is seen that a man is well shrieve. For if he yaff, he durst mock avant, he wist that a man was repentant. For many a man, so hard is of his heart, he may not weep, although him sore smerte. Therefore, instead of weeping and prayers, men mote give silver to the poor frères. His tippet was aye farced full of knieves and pinnes, for to yeven fire weaves. And certainly he had a murie nought. Well could he sing, and plyen on a rot, of yedding as he bar outrely the priest. His neck a wheat was as the fleur de lis, thereto he strong was as a champion. He knew the tavern as well in every tune, and every hosteler and tapister, bet than a Lazar or a begaster. For unto switch a worthy man as he accorded not, as be his faculty, to have with sicker Lazar's acquaintance. It is not honest, it may not avance, for to dealen with no switch pariah, but all with rich and cellars of betail. And over all, there as prophet should rise, courteous he was, and lowly of service. There was no man nowhere so virtuous. He was the best beggar in his house, and yaf a certain firm for the ground. None of his brethren come there in his haunt. For though a widower had a nocht to show, so pleasant was his in principio, yet would he have a farthing ere he went. His purchase was well better than his rent, and rage he could, as it were richt a whelp. In loved eyes there could he mutual help, for there he was not like a cloisterer with a threadbare cop, as is a pauvre scholar, but he was like a meister or a pope. Of double worsted was his semicop, that rounded as a bell out of the press. Somewhat he lipsed for his wantonness, to mock his English sweet upon his tongue, and in his harping, when that he had sung, his eyen twinkled in his head aricht, as dawn the stars in the frosty nicht. This worthy limiter was cleped Hubert. A merchant was there with a forked beard in motley, and he on horse he sat. Upon his head a Flandrish beaver hat, his botas clasped fire and faitously. His resons he spake full solemnly, swooning alway then crace of his winning. He willed the say were kept for anything betwixt Middelburg and Orwell. Well could he an eschon shield sell. This worthy man, full well his wit besette. There wist no wight that he was in debt, so estately was he of his governance, with his bargains and with his chevisance. Forsooth, he was a worthy man withal, but sooth to say, he not who men him calla. A clerk there was of Oxenford I saw, that unto logic had a long ego. As lane was his horse as his rock, and he must not richt fat he undertake, but look at Halwa, and thereto soberly. Full threadbare was his overest courtesy, for he had getten him yet no benefice. It was so worldly for to have office. For him was leverer have at his bedde's head 20 bocas, clad in black or red, of Aristotle and his philosophia, than robbers rich, or fiddle, or guy so tree. But albeit that he was a philosopher, yet had he but little gold in coffre. But all that he micht of his friendes hent on bocas, and on learning he had spent. And busily gone for the soul as prey of him that yoff him wherewith to scolay. Of study took he most cure and most heed. Knocked all words spake he more than was made, and that was side in form and reverence, and short and quick and full of he sentence. Swooning in moral virtue was his speech, and gladly would he learn and gladly teach. A sergeant of the law, war and wees, that often had a bane at the parvies, there was also, full rich of excellence. Discreet he was, and of great reverence. He samed switch, his word as well and so easy. Just as he was full often in a Caesar, be patent and be plain commission. For his science and for his heich renown of fays and robbers had he many own. So Greta Purchaser was nowhere known. All was fays simpler to him in effect. His purchasing micht not been in fact. Nowhere saw busier man as he there was, and yet he seemed busier than he was. In termes had he costs and domes alle, that fra the team of King William were falle. Thereto he could indeed, and mock a thing, there could no wicht pinch at his reading, and every statute could he plain be wrought. He rode but homely in a medley coat, girt with a saint of silk, with bodice smaller. Of his awry tell he no longer tale. A Frankelane was in his compagnie. Wheat was his beard, as is the diazia. Of his complexion he was sanguine. Well loved he be the marwa sop in ween. To live in delete was ever his wone, for he was Epicurus owen a son, that held opinion that plain delete was very felicite parfait. And householder, and that a great was he. Saint Julian he was in his country. His bread, his all was always after on. A better and veened man was never known. Without a Bachmet was never his house of fish and flesh, and that so plentivous it snowed in his house of meat and drink, of all the dainties that men coulda think. After the sundry seasons of the year, so changed he his meat and his supper. Full many a fat partridge had he in mewer, and many a brame, and many a loose in stew. War was his coke, but if his sauce were poignant and sharp, and ready all his gear. His table dormant in his hall alway stood ready covered all the longe day. At sessions there was he lord and sire, full after team he was knecht of the shire. An onlass and a gypsy all of silk hang at his girdle, wheat as morn the milk. A shearave had he been, and a coon tour was nowhere switch a worthy vavasour. An haberdasher and a carpenter, a web, a deer, and a tapicer, and they were clothed all in old livery of a solemn and of great fraternity. Full fresh and new her gear peaked was. Her canevas were chapped nocht with brass, but all was silver, rocked full clean and well, her girdles and her pooches every dell. Well seemed each of him a fair burgess, till sitting in a yale the hall on a dice. Everich, for the wisdom that he con, was sharply for to bane an alderman. For cattle had they enough and rent, and they care weavers while they were a cent, and elles certain were they to blama. It is full fair to bane eclipid, madama, and gone to vigilias all before, and have a mantle royalich bore. A coke they had with him for the nonnas to boil the chickens with the maribonas, and poor merchant tart and gallingala. Well could he know a draught of London alla. He could have roast and saved and broil and free, mac and mortar and well bacca pia. But great harm was it, as it talked to me, that on his shin a mormal had a hay. For blank manger that not hay with the besta. A shipman was there, warning fair be westa, for achty what he was of Dertamuth. He rode upon a runcie as he couth, in a goon of falding to the canay. A dagger hanging on a lass had he about his neck, under his arm adoon. The hot summer had made his hue all brune. Certainly he was a god flower. Full many a draught of wine had he draw fro Bordeaux ward, wheel that the chop and slape. Of niece conscience took he no cape. If that he fought and had the heer hond, be water he sent him home to every land. But of his craft to reckon well his teedes, his stremes, and his dangers him besiedes, his herberwa, and his mon, his lord menage, there nas none switch from the whole to Carthage. Hardy he was, and wees to undertaka. With many a tempest had his baird bane shocka. He canoe all the havenes as they were for Gotland, to the Cap of Finisterre, and every creek in Bretagne and in Spain. His barge clipped was the Madeline. With us there was a doctor of physique. In all this world no was there none him leak to spec of physic and of surgery. For he was grounded in astronomia. He kept his patient a full great del and ures, be his magic naturel. Well could he fortunen the ascendant of his images for his patient. He knew the cause of every malady, were it of hot or cold or moist or dry, and where engendered, and of what humour. He was a very perfect practisour. The cause he knew, and of his harm the wrought, anon he yaff the sick man his bought. Full ready had he his apothecarius to send him druggas and his letuarius. For each of him mad other for to win. Here friendship nos not new to begin. Well canoe he the old Esculapius, and Dioscorides, and Rufus, old Hippocras, Halion, Gallion, Serapion, Vazes, and Avicen, Averroes, Damascian, and Constantine, Bernard, and Gottiston, and Gilbertine. Of his diet measurable was he, for it was of no superfluité, but of great nourishing and digestible. His study was but little on the Bible. In sanguine and in purse he clad was all, leaned with taffeta and with sendal, and yet he was but easy of dispenser. He kept that he won in pestilenza, for gall in physic is a cordial, therefore he loved gall in special. A godwife was there of beside Bath, but she was some del deaf, and that was scarred. Of cloth-mocking she had switch and haunt, she passed him of Ypres and of Gaunt. In all the parish of Weef was there none that told the offering before her shoulder gone, and if there did, certain so wroth was she, that she was out of all a charity. Her cover-chiefs full fine were of ground, eaters to swear they weighed in 10 pound that on a Sunday wearing upon her head. Her hosen wearing of fine scarlet red, full straightly tied, and shows full moist and new. Bald was her face, and fire, and red of hue. She was a worthy woman all her life. Husband is at church door she had fever, without another company and youth. But thereof needeth not to speak as nouth. And thrice had she been at Jerusalem, she had passed many a strangest rem. At Roma she had been, and at Bologna, in Gallice at St. John, and at Cologne. She coulda much of wandering be the way. Gat talbot was she, sotly for to say. Upon an ambler easily she sat, wimpled well, and on her head and hat as broad as is a buckler or a targe. A thought mantle about her hippes large, and on her feet a pair of spurs sharp. In the fellowship well could she laugh and carp, of remedies of love she canoe perchance, for she could of that art the dance. A goldman was there of religion, and was a pulver person of a tune, but rich he was of holy thought and work. He was also a learned man, a clerk, that Christ's gospel truly would preach. His parishioners devoutly would he teach. Benign he was, and wonder diligent, and in adversity full patient, and switch he was praved off the seethes. Full loth were him to cursen for his teethes, but rather wold he given out of dute, unto his povre perishings aboot of his offering and eke of his substance. He could in little thing have suffisance. Weed was his parish, and houses fair asunder, but he ne left not for rain of thunder in sickness nor in mischief to visit the fairest in his parish, much and little, upon his fate, and in his hand a staff. This noble ensemble to his shape he yath, that first he rocked, and afterward he talked. Out of the gospel he the word is cocked, and this figure he added eke thereto, that if gold rust, what should Iron do? For if a priest be fool, on whom we trust, no wonder is a lewd man to rust. And shame it is if a priest talk cape, a shitten shepherd and a clean shape. Well ought a priest ensample for to yive, be his cleanness, who that his shape should live. He set not his benefice to hear, and let his shape encumbered in the mirror, and ran to London unto Saint Apollos to saken him a chantery for solace, or with a brother head to bane withhold, but dwelt at home, and kept well his fold, so that the wolf ne modded not miscarry. He was a shepherd, and not a mercenary. And though he holy were and virtuous, he was to sinful men not despitus, of his speech a dangerous nadenia, but in his teaching discreet and benigne. To drawen folk to heaven be fairness, be good ensemble, this was his business. But it were any person obstinate, whatso he were of high or low estate, him would he snibben sharply for the nonnes. A better praise he throw there nor where none is. He waited after no pomp and reverence, ne mocked him a speeced conscience. But Christus law and his apostles 12 he talked, but first he followed it himself. With him there was a plewman, was his brother, that had he lad of dung full many a father. A true was swinker and a god was he, living in peace and perfect charity. God loved he best with all his whole heart, at all times, though him gammed or smerte, and then his neighbor richt as himself. He would thresh and thereto deek and delve, for Christus' sake, for every pulver wecht withouten hear, if it lie in his mecht. His tithes paid he full fair and well, both of his proper swink and his cattle. In a tabard he rode upon a mare. There was also a rave and a miller, a sumner and a pardoner also, a mansple and myself, there were no more. The miller was a stout carle for the nonnes, full big he was of brawn and eke of bonnes. That proved well, for over all there he come at rasting he would have alway the ram. He was short-shouldered, broad, a thick a canara. There was no door that he no'd have off her. A bracket and a renning with his head. His beard as any Sioux or fox was red, and thereto broad, as though it were a spade. Upon the cop richt of his nose he had a wert, and thereon stood a tuft of hairs, red as the bristles of a Sioux's heiress. His nose a thirl as black a were and weed. A sword and a buckler bar he be his seed. His mouth as gret was as a gret for nice. There was a jongleur and a goliardes, and that was most of sin and harlotries. Well could he stell in corn and tull in trees, and yet he had a thumb of gold, parday, a wheat coat and a blue hood weared he. A bag of peep well could he blow and sooner, and therewithal he brocht us out of tuna. A gentle monspler was there of a templar, of which oshatours michte talk exemplar, for to be wise in being of betile. For whether that he pied or took betile, all got he whited so in his a shot, that he was aye beforn and in good stot. Nu is not that of God a full fire grace, that switch a lewed man as wit shall pass the wisdom of an heap of learned men? Of meisters had he more than 310, that weren of law expert and curious, of which there were a dozen in that house worthy to be stewards of rent and land of any lord that is in England. To mock him leave be his proper god, in honour debtless, but if he were ward, or leave as scarcely as him list desire, and able for to help an all assure in any cost that michte fall or hapa. And yet this monspler said here aller kappa. The ray was a slender choleric man. His beard was shave as knee as ever he can. His hair was be his hair as full roundy shorn. His top was docked like a price before, full longer were his legs and full lean, like a staff. There was no coffee saying. Well could he keep a garner and a bin, there was none auditor could on him win. Well wist he be the drocht and be the Rhine, the yielding of his side and of his grind, his lord's shape, his net, his diarrhea, his swine, his horse, his store, and his poultry were wholly in this rave's governing, and be his covenant, Yaf the reckoning, sin that his lord was 20 year of age. There could no man bring him in a rerage. There nas bailiff, na heard, nor other heen, that he na canoe his slecht, and his covina. They were a dread of him as of the death. His warning was full fire upon an heath. With grain a tray shadwood was his plaza. He coulda better than his lord purchasa. For rich he was a stored privily. His lord well could he pleasen subtly to give and lend him of his own good, and have a thunk, and yet a cot and hod. In youth he had learned a good mister. He was a well good richt, a carpenter. This rave sat upon a full good stot, that was all pomely grey, and hichte Scot. A long surcoat of purse upon he had, and be his seed he bar at rusty blad. Of Norfolk was this rave of which he tella, be seed a tune men clapen Baldeswella. Tucked he was as is a frere aboot, and ever he rod the hindress of our route. A summoner was there with us in that plaza, that had a few red cherub in his face, for sauce flame he was, with and narwa. As hot he was, and lecherous as a sparrow, with scarlet brow as black, and peeled beard. Of his visage children were affair. There nas quicksilver, litarge, na brimstone, boras cerus, na oil of tartranon, na ointment that wolde cleanse and beate, that him micht helpen of his whelkes wheate, nor of the cannabis sitting on his cheekes. Well loved he garlic, onions, and egg lakes, and for to drink strong wine red as blood, then would he speck and cry as he were wod. And when that he well drunken had the wine, then wolde he speck no word but Latin. A few terms had he, 2 or 3, that he had learned out of some decree. No wonder is he heard it all the day. And Ike he canoeing well who that a jay can clapen what, as well as can the pauper. But whoso could in other thing him grope, then had he spent all his philosophia. I questio quid juris would he cria. He was a gentle harlot and a kind, a better flower shoulder men not find. He would suffer for a quart of wine, a gold flower to have his concubine a 12th month, and excuse him at a fuller. For privily a finch eke could he pull. And if he found alwhere a gold flower, he would techen him to have none all and switch costs of the archdeaconess curse. But if a man's soul were in his purse, for in his purse he surely punished be. Purse is the archdeaconess hell, sighed he. But will he wot he lead the victim dead, of cursing ocht each guilty man him dread, for curse will slay richt as a soiling Sabbath, and also war him of a signifi covet. In danger had he at his own guise the younge girles of the diocese, and canoe her counsel, and was all he rade. A garland had he set upon his head, as great as it were for an alle stocke. A buckler had he made him of a cocke. With him there rode a gentle pardoner of Roncesvalles, his friend and his compere, that straight was comen fro the court of Rome. Full lewd he sung, Cool hither love to me. This summoner bar to him a stiff burdoon, was never trump of half so great a soon. This pardoner had a hair as yellow as wax, but smooth it hang as doth a streak of flax. Beyounces hang his lockes that he had, and therewith he his shoulders overspread. But thin it lie, be colpons on and on. But hold for jollity were it he known, for it was trussed up in his wallet. In the thought he rode all of the newe jet. Dishevely of his cup he rode all bare, switch glaring Ian had he as an hare, a vernicle had he sewed upon his cap. His wallet before him in his lap, bret full of pardon, comen from Rome all hot. A voice he had, as small as hath a goat. A beard had he, never a shoulder have, as smooth it was as it were latte shave. He trow he were a gelding or a mare. But of his craft, fro barrack into ware, now was there switch another pardoner. For in his maw he had a pilwa bear, which that he sighed was her laddie vile. He sighed he had a gobbet of the sile that Saint Peter had, when that he went upon the sea till Jesu Christ him hent. He had a cross of latoon full of stones, and in a glass he had a pigge's bonus. But with these reliques, when that he found a povre person dwelling upon land, upon a die he got him more money than that the person got in months tweye. And thus, with feigned flattery and joppers, he made the person and the people's appers. Truly, to tell an at the last, he was in church a noble ecclesiasta. Well could he read a lesson or a story, but alder best he sung an offertory. For well he wist, when that the song was sung, he must a preach and well a feel his tongue to win a silver, as he full well could. Therefore he sung the murrierly and lewd. Who have he told you softly, in a clause, the stat, the rye, the number and eke, the cause, we that assembled was this compania in Southwark, at this gentle hosteria that hick the tabard, fast be the bella. But nu is team to you for to telle who that way baren us that ilke nicht, when we were in that hostery a licht. And after will he tell of our viage and all the remnant of our pilgrimage. But first, I pray you, of your courtesy, that ye narrate it not me villania, though that he plainly spec in this matter, to tell you her wordes, and her chair. Now though I spec her wordes properly. For this ye knowen also well as he, whoso shall tell a tale after a man, he mought rehearse as near as ever he can every a word, if it be in his charge. All spec he never so rudelich and large, or else he mote tell his tale and true, or feign a thing, or find a word as new. He might not spare, although he were his brother. He might as well say our as another. Christ spake himself for broad and holy writ, and well ye wot, no villainy is it. Eke Plato saith, whoso that can him read, the wordes mote be cousin to the dead. Also, I pray you to forgive it me, all have ye not set folk in here degree here in this tale, as that they shoulder stande. Me wit is short, ye may well understand. Great chair maad oor host us every John, and to the supper set he us anon. He served us with vitale at the beste. Strong was the wine, and well to drink us leste. A seemly man oor host was withal, for to been a marshal in an hall. A large man he was with e'en stape, a faire burgess is there none in shape. Bold of his speech, and wise, and well he talked, and of manhood him lacked richt nocht. Eke thereto he was richt a merry man, and after supper playin he began, and spake of mirth among us other things. One that way had a maad oor reckoninges, and said us, "Nu lordinges truly, ye been to me richt welcome heartily. For be truth, if that he shall not lie, he sak not this year so merry a company at honest in his herberwas is new. Fine would he don you mirth, wist he who, and of a mirth ye am richt nu bethought to don you as, and it shall cost a nocht. Ye gone to Canterbury, God you spade, the blissful martyr quitte you your maid. And well he wot, as ye gone be the way, ye shoppen you to Tallinn and to play, for truly comfort and mirth is known to read be the way dumb as a stone, and therefore will he maken you to sport, as he said erst, and don you some comfort. And if you leaketh all be on assent for to standen at me judgment, and for to worken as he shall you say tomorrow, when ye readin be the way, nu, be me father's soul that is dead. But ye be merry, he will have you mean head. Hold up your handes withouten more speech. Our consile was not longer for to seche. A stocked it was not worth to mock it wees. Granted him withouten more vies, and bade him say his word it as him lest. Lordinges, quod he, nu hearkeneth for the beste, but talk it not, I pray you, in disdain. This is the point to specken short and plain, that each of you to short with your way in this viage shall tell a talus twaya to Canterbury ward minute so, and homeward he shall tell another twa, of aventures that whilom han befalla. And which of you that beareth him best of all, that is to sign, that telleth in this cause, tales of best sentence and most solace, shall have a supper at our aller cost here in this plaza, sitting be this post, one that way come again fro Canterbury. And, for to mock you the more merry, I will myself and godly with you reade, richt at mine own cost, and be your guide. And whoso will me judgment with sire, shall pay all that way spende be the way. And if ye vouche soft that it be so, tell me anon, withouten wordes more, and I will early shoppe me therefore. This thing was granted, and our office swore with full glad herte, and prayed in him also that he would vouche soft for to do so, and that he would have been our governor, and of our tallest judge and reporter, and set a supper at a certain priest, and we were ruled been at his device in Heich and Loch. And thus beyond assent, we been accorded to his judgment, and thereupon the ween was fetten on. We drunken, and to rest went each on, withouten any longer tarrying. Amarwa, when that the day began to spring, up rose our host, and was our aller cock, and gathered us together all in a flock. And forth we reden a little more than pass unto the watering of Saint Thomas. And there our host began his horse arrest and sighed, Lording as hearkeneth if you list, ye wot you're forward, and yet you record. If Evensong and Marwasong accord, let say new who shall tell the first Atala. As ever moti drink ween or alla, who saw be rebel to me judgment shall pay for all that be the way is spent. Nu draweth cut, that we fairer twinne. He which that hath the shortest shall beginne. Sir Knecht, quod he, me meister and me lord, nu draweth cut, for that is mine accord. Cometh ne'er, quod he, me lady prioresse, and ye, Sir Clerk, lat be your shamfastnesse, ne studieth nocht, lay on to every man. Anon to draw on every wicht began, and shortly for to tellen as it was, where it be aventure, or sort, or cause, the soth is this, the cut filled to the knecht, of which full blithe and glad was every wicht, and till he most his tall, as was resoon, be forward, and be composition, as ye han heard. What needeth word as small? And when this Godeman saw that it was so, as he that wise was and obedient, to keep his forward, be his free assent, he sighed, Sin he shall begin the game. What, welcome be the cut, a God is name. Nu let us read, and hearkeneth what he say. And with that word we readden forth our way. And he began with Richte Miri chair, his talen on, and sighed, as ye may hear.